think I got.
So we're live.
All right. Welcome to the Impact Podcast. We are so excited to be with you today. Of course, I have my friends here with me. I'm Aaliyah Johnson Roberts.
Dr. Obiama in the house.
Damaris Alvarado Rodriguez. Try saying that past 3 times.
And today we are coming. We're coming to have a good conversation. Like I'm excited to have this here. This word legacy has been brought up three times in the past week, 2 weeks. And we even had a short conversation about it the other day. But what was asked of me, there was a question. It looks like Dr. Obiama dropped off, but I'm sure she'll jump back in.
Yep.
But the question was asked, this was the first mention of legacy. A comment was made that the word legacy or I'm creating my legacy is overrated. And I was like, ooh. So legacy is overrated. And I was like, I had to take pause and say, okay, well, what do you mean? And then the second time I was having a conversation about where my business is right now. And, there's been a number of changes. I'm trying to make the transition to not be so present in the center and really play a different role. But of course, I'm putting a lot of effort into building systems and infrastructure and all that stuff. And the question was, what does your legacy look like? And the reason they asked that was because, to be honest, a lot of the background and the push for me was to carry on my mother's legacy. I've been feeling like, she's been doing this for 40 years. She's really made an impact in the early childhood education industry, and I cannot let this fail. That literally has been, that's been on my shoulders. And no, Obiama, you and I had that conversation before. I put that on myself. My mom has never, ever put that burden on me. But the question was, okay, but now we're actually in your legacy. So what do you want for your legacy? And I was like, I never thought about it. So I wanted to kind of pose that to you ladies to have this conversation because it was mentioned the other day when we were talking, and we were talking about some things that we're working on. And the thought was, there's been a number of people that we know who have been in this work for years and they passed on or they closed their doors or they're still working, like literally working in the same position they had been 20, 30, 40 years and, they're kind of in the same place, if you will. And not to downplay anyone, but it's like, where are we going? So I kind of wanted to talk about that. Legacy.
Yeah.
Does the childcare industry set us up to create legacies, or are we just working?
Well, here's the definition, which I pulled up under legacy, right? Because now we have to define what does legacy mean. So it is a gift by will, especially of money or other personal property.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a gift?
No.
Is this a gift? Right? So what is the legacy? When we talk about legacy, with me, it is an incorrect word to use because I have my exit strategy. Which is different, right? That's not my legacy, it's my exit strategy. It's how I'm going to exit and creating those strategic moves to be able to exit successfully, right? And how does that look like? We talked a little bit about that. My husband asked me one day this week, and I think that's why we started like all this big conversation. When is enough enough? Right? You have done all this work. You've put in 20 years into this program, and you've had 20 years of successful, implementation in the communities. You've made impacts. You made this. You're working now, in this nonprofit, doing equitable work, workforce. You have your hand in everything. But when is enough enough, right? And that really made me think like, whoa, that's deep. because I don't know when enough is enough, right? And really made me second guess and slow down, right, to that magical standing still moment, right, where I have to really reevaluate where is my legacy going, right, and how am I really going to exit? But today I was telling Obiama, last week, well, the beginning of this week when we talked about exit strategies. And it's like, God don't want me to go nowhere, because every time I'm like, all right, I'm exiting. We talked it up. I'm getting ready for that mission. God is like, hold on to this, and then hold on to this. And I'm going to need you to do this before you step your foot out this game. Yeah. And sometimes we have to look at what are those messages. So it's really confusing. It truly is. I want out. I do. Right. However, I think he has a different a different mission for me, if that makes sense, right? It's and I have to kind of like figure that out.
Yeah.
So I was, go ahead.
No, I was saying, what say you, Dr. Obiama?
Oh, right. So my approach to legacy is a little bit different. Um, and so it's twofold. So one, I think about leaving wealth for my children's children's children, right? So that's one part of it, right? But that wouldn't be legacy. That's just me leaving an inheritance, right, for my children. Because in terms of the work that I've done, my children are not picking up that mantle. They are not interested. They like, right? So then when I think about my legacy would just be for all of the lives that I've had the opportunity to touch, that I was someone that cared about them as a person and not a number. And I think for me, as an educator, as a coach, as a mentor, that right there has been so important to me, to make sure that everybody that I have an opportunity to work with always feel like I treat them like a person and not a number. So for me, that's my legacy too, so that anybody I come in contact with, they were seen, they was heard, they were supported, and I never made them feel less than who they were. So that's what I want my legacy to be.
And I absolutely agree, because that, I feel like, is a big part of the work of me carrying on my mother's legacy. It was never about money or anything. It was about, she set this high standard of how she interacted with people and everything that she's done in the community. And it's like, I can't do anything but elevate that or continue the work on. So that part, I want to say is easy, because I enjoy it as well. But something that came up also, that I didn't expect recently, is my daughter wanted to come into the business. And I was like, oh, right. So I had been talking about succession planning, but I wasn't really sure. I didn't expect her to say it, right? I was like, I mean, I know she helped, she supported me, but now she's like, I want in. And do we even prepare for that? So I know for us, we have been, because again, we've been working really hard at setting up the infrastructure and making sure our business is sustainable. We have been documenting processes and creating these systems and things like that, so that if someone were to leave, because we know the staffing crisis and all of that, you have your person for 10 years, that, right, each day we don't know who's going to put in their resignation. So instead of relying on a person to get this job done, we had to document what that looks like, so that if they are no longer there, the business doesn't crumble, or that our quality doesn't subside, that we continue doing the work that that we've been doing. So I think it was interesting, and honestly, I believe it's God, right? Set us up and really put these things in motion, because for her to be ready to come in, I'm not starting from scratch to try to say, okay, well, let me figure out how to show you what to do, because the question was asked of me, well, tell me about when you got into the business. I walked in from getting laid off at my other job. I walked in, I had no clue about being a director. I walked in as a director with zero knowledge of what to do. And that's not legacy. That's not creating legacy or even succession planning to make sure that our business can run without us. So even if you're not passing it on or selling it, which those are things we need to talk about, those exit strategies, because right, we need to talk about those things. But even if we want to free ourselves from working in the business as much as we are, there's some things that we have to do in order to do that. And the business can still pay us. Why not? The business can pay me working
And that's
7 days.
exactly what you and I definitely been talking about, Aaliyah, like setting it up where you can step out, but it doesn't mean that you can't still get paid, right? And so even with the conversation, Damaris, we had earlier this week, and you just was like, I don't really want to oversee though, right? And so it's really looking at what is a right fit for you as an individual, but also, Damaris, what you just said about God not being through to you. Your legacy is so unique, and I think that the reason why there's a pull on you the way that it is, and there's a great need for your voice because there is no other voice like yours. There is no other voice like yours. And so, like, yes, I would agree. You still have work to do. Like, you can't exit. I know you want to, but when you look at your handprint, like, you're the only Latino, you're the only Spanish who is like a true trailblazer in the space doing what you're doing. And until somebody else come and fulfill those shoes, like, I just look at every time I'm in your program, I look at the work that you do in your community. That is unmatched anywhere with the impact that you're making, opening up doors with quality, right? And the opportunities that you are now having access to is only going to allow that to spread in other communities outside of Pennsylvania. So, like, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, however, even with that though, Damaris, I think that you can still be out and get paid and just be a consultant or a coach or, or an advisor. Like, you don't have to be in it the way that you're in it, but your voice is so vital.
So here's what I've been doing, and thank you so much, Obiama. Thank you so much. Um, I have been working on my exit strategy, which is obviously my daughter, Aaliyah, right? And what's important to me is also looking within deep into my organization to find out who the leaders in there are, right? And provide those growth opportunities for people to be in there. I haven't been in my center all week. I've been working on other projects the whole entire week. I called them today and was like, I miss you guys. They're like, no, you don't. All right, let's do a check-in because I really don't. Right? I'm like, I really don't. But last year and the year before that, I wasn't able to do that, right? In the past 19 years. So now creating these strategies, creating these systems, right, that hold me accountable for me not to step into the door, right? So I can take care, like Obiama said once, my newborns, which is like, the nonprofit, also the consulting agency, and make sure that my oldest child, which is Children's Playhouse, is good and set. I'm still there to jump in with whatever they need, and they know how I am, right? If I need it, if I know they're struggling, I'm coming. I'm doing a cleanup. We're going to do this. We're going to strategize. And then, are you good? All right, I'm out. Right. So that's how I do. And Obiama seen that, I think it was the week of opening that we were there, and there was like a lot of craziness happening. And I just was like, I got you. And I dropped everything I was doing because I had to go attend to my oldest children. Right. Because if I don't do that, then today I wouldn't be able to be not off, but focusing on other things for a whole entire week, right? And opening other doors. Working with my daughter as she started with me when she was like 15, right? I knew that she was very still young in mind. I didn't know whether or not she wanted. One thing I love about my daughter, besides her being my daughter, is that She loves to learn, right? And I had to fire her. Guys, I fired my own kid. I'm harsh. I really am. I'm like, yeah, you're not ready for this. And I fired her and I told her to go work in another program, in which she did. And she came back begging. Like, I can't. I was like, oh, the grass is not greener on the other side. You ready to put in this work, or you ready to go into another field? Because it's okay. You don't have to follow my footsteps. This wasn't even my footsteps, right? I own a restaurant when I was 21, right? I owned a billing and insurance agency by the time I was 24, 25, and then came into childcare at 30 by accident. You understand what I'm saying? So this wasn't even like something that was thought up of. So I respect where you're going. I don't expect you to follow my footsteps. You have to want to be at this table. And now that you're at this table, how do we make her grow, right? As a leader, her, allow her to have her own space, her own voice. It is an amazing thing as a mom, a proud moment, as a leader, as an owner of a facility, to see the people that are underneath you have a voice at tables and comfortably speak out loud, whether I'm there or not, right? And advocate for the children that they have and they serve and the families that they serve, and also lift their voice. And seeing my daughter in that role, she's my legacy. I see her, right? She is my legacy. She needs a lot more, just like I do. I am 20 years in. I still need a lot more, right? I need that coaching, that consulting. But until mommy is ready to exit, mommy's here to support her, because I know that she's going to be a fierce Latina leader, a fierce one, right? And she's going to make even better strides than I am, and I just can't wait. And to see others underneath me, you know, that or working with me, not underneath me, working together with me, because they're not underneath me. They work side by side. I can't wait to see them grow too. I can't wait to see this thing that I just created by accident out of love grow into this beautiful thing that's going to make changes in this community, in this world, and in Philadelphia, which very needed. So I'm passionate about it. I'm here for it.
Yes. And
And listen, but wait, we the three of us are creating legacy with this leadership
Ah,
fellowship.
yeah, and I love that you say that, because the legacy doesn't have to always be passed on to our children,
nope.
right? This is where the leadership comes in at, and it's not one of those I'm going to come in, get what I want and need, and I'm out, and I'm not, I don't care about, because even if we were to, leave the position, leave the center, or not be present in the capacity that we're in now, that doesn't mean that we can't still impact the feel or the work. And I think sometimes we kind of stay stuck, like you were saying. It's a hard pull, Damaris, because it's like, wait, but I have to do this, I have to do that. So that was one of my questions too, which was, okay, then what does the industry offer us then when we get to this space? Well, I think I just answered my
Um,
question in my
I,
head. I was about to say we create
I,
our own path.
the industry doesn't really offer us anything. We have to be that go-getters. We have to create innovative ways into fighting back to remind them and ourselves that we are business people. We are business people. We love what we do. I love my children. I love the impacts I make. I love, whatever. But we are business people. So when we get to this space, now we're thinking about future growth. What is that going to look like, right? How are we going to be sustainable? And the industry, unfortunately, does not offer us those type of tools and supports, right? We're conditioned to think that, we're just babysitters. No, I'm not a babysitter. I didn't go to school for babysitting. You know what I mean? I don't know nobody that goes to school for babysitting. I just don't know it. I do not work 12 owners, by the way, work 48 hours a day, and there's only 24. We even dreaming about how we're going to wake up how we're going to work the next day, right?
Literally, yes.
Literally, right? What is my next move? What's my next strategic move? How do I handle this? How do I handle this family? Our minds, this ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody.
It definitely is not for everybody. And to your point, like the work that we do, the work, like that's our legacy as well. And to the point of, I mean, both of you being at a place where you are pouring in, right? You're pouring in. And I don't know if you guys read, I sent you something the other day, and it was 21 qualities of a leader. I had screenshotted this thing I was reading. I sent it to you, and it talked about the leader having a successor, like the leader, a servant leader. You know, a good leader is going to empower and pour into and invest in their people. Why? Because we want to be replaceable. We need to be replaceable. Like that's a good leader. You want to raise up a people that you don't have to micromanage, that you don't have to babysit, that you can pass the baton on and know that they're good. And that's what the two of you are doing, right? That's what we're doing. That's what we get to do every opportunity that we walk into our centers, walk into our classrooms, walk into our programs. So it's ongoing, and the job is never done. Like it's never done. I was talking to Zakia earlier today when I was at your center, Damaris, and I was reflecting about how, like, for 5 years, I was the executive director over 5 centers, teaching at Youthville, teaching at Chestnut Hill, and doing my own program. And as I was sitting there listening to her and listening to myself out loud, I was like, no wonder why people kept on asking me, when do you sleep? Because the passion is what wakes us up. The passion is what drives us. And so I'm at the place where I don't even know how I did that. I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
the
if you
question
really
is
reflect
always,
that,
how can we do more? I feel like it's always okay, guys. That we did a great job. We did a great job. What else can we do?
what else can we
All
do?
the time.
Right.
All
And,
the
you
time.
know,
Nothing
and
coming.
it's a shame because we really don't get the opportunity, Leah, to really reflect on the magic that we have created, the wonderful work, the impacts that we have created, right? The lives that we have touched, right? And the leaders that we have raised, right? You know, we have our moments where we're just running fast because that's just the way we're trained in this field. You gotta be one step ahead, right? We gotta always be one step ahead because if you sleep or you blink an eye,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. You know, you just lost some funding or you lost this or somebody cut your throat because that happens in our field too, guys. You
All
know,
day.
all day, every day. You know, so it's important to when do we get a minute to actually enjoy, right? And I guess that goes back to my husband's question. When
Yeah.
is enough enough? When do you enjoy, when do you get to enjoy the work that you have put in?
Yeah.
Right?
When you raise up people that you can leave to
Yes.
run the ship.
And then continue to make those positive impacts. I had
Mm-hmm.
I was closing out with a client today, and she was really grateful, you know, for a lot of the work that we've done. And I said to her, "We're not finished here." I said because I'm going to need you to become one of my leaders, right? Because I need more representation. We need more people that look like us to help us.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And I said, "Are you with it?" And she was like, "So, like, yeah." So, you know, most of the time it's really looking for those opportunities. And she was so excited to even be offered like the opportunity to work with other people, right? In a different in a different way, right? She's always worked with childcare. She knows the center. She works in communities of needs, a large population of Hispanic communities. And now I said to her, I would love for you to really connect because I think people will connect when it's a provider approach, right? Somebody who knows where I've been at. Like, don't come to me and say, oh, I understand that you're not eating today, but meanwhile, you're having a steak last night. Like, don't do that.
Right.
You don't know
Right.
where I've been. You understand? You don't know my struggles. You know what I mean? So you know, it's cool when people are able to connect with certain people and really understand those real struggles, right? What it was to like really build yourself up and your organizations up. So
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of the magic as well, that partnership. And we've spoken about that as well. I think, you know, even what happens amongst us, it's so much, you know, we could talk about that all day, but I love that. Last week, I think I did a panel discussion with some other ladies around employee retention, and not one was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm talking other states, but it was such a beautiful connection to be able to all be pretty much in the same position, either directors, owners, or consultants. And there was no sense of competition on there. It was nothing but how can we further collaborate after? And that also is legacy, is right. We know that we have the passion. We've done this work. Everybody had 15 plus years in the game. And it was like, how can we come together to make more of this magic and show other people in the industry that it can be done? That whole myth that, childcare owners don't want to share with others, or women can't come together and not have drama. Like, no,
I think we're conditioned. I think we did a podcast once on that, right? Like, show me the dollar, or we want to powder that dollar. You remember that?
Yes.
You remember that podcast? And we're conditioned to feel that way. You already know, Leah. We've spoken in Obiama a lot about other organizations. I want to say the right words here, but I'm not the politically correct person.
Right. So what you trying to say? So what you trying to say? Well, this. It goes back to the conversation of, is green. At the end of the day, is green, and at the end of the day, the people that hold the purse strings, male or female, are the ones that keep everything going, right? And so they distract us with the putting us all in one box and have us fighting for the same dollar, instead of taking the dollar and saying, you get a quarter, you get a quarter, you get a quarter. But no, you want us all fighting for the same dollar. And then now we sitting at the same table, but we fighting for the same dollar. So as soon as we get up from the table, it's like, oh no, don't work with her. Don't work with this person. Don't work. So now we got all that backbiting going on, and that and that is just
what she's doing over there. Let's go.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
So ridiculous. And then thank you so much, Obiama, for this is why we make such a great team, because you already know where I was going. I love that you pushed me off. Put me off.
I got you. We're stronger together. We're stronger together, right?
We're stronger together. We're all leading the same. We're all fighting the same fight, right? If power is in numbers and powers, right? Or that's how you say power is in numbers. If we all stood together, wow, can you just imagine the changes that we can make and create together?
Right. Yes.
And you know what else though too is really driven by a scarcity mindset, because it really is a buffet. There is no scarcity out here. There are so many children and families that really need our support and our help. We should not be fighting over a slot, over a spot, over a nothing, because there is an abundance when it comes to the need. The need is much. The need is great, right? And so that's why us being stronger together, the collaboration and a partnership is so vital. And that's why this legacy that we're creating is going to continue to be, even when we're gone, even when we decide to exit, because even with the work that we're doing, because of the community and the tools, they're going to be able to come right alongside us and keep it going.
Yes. Yeah. And I think a part of the problem is, and you were absolutely right with the scarcity mindset, which is why one of my questions was, does the industry set us up to be able to exit and exit?
No,
it doesn't.
No, the system doesn't. So
need our own, which is
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, which is why exactly what we're doing is creating the solutions instead of just complaining about, here's the problem. We're creating the solutions that we need in order to be free. I think all of us are doing different things. We're looking outside of childcare to say, this is the kind of life that I want to live, and this is what I'm going to do. I still love this work, but
and so here's and here's where the innovation comes at. And this is the conversation that I've been having with Damaris around let's be our own bank. That's where the real innovation comes in at. Let's be our own bank. Like instead of fighting for these peanuts,
Yes.
forget them peanuts. We can make our own peanuts. Let's grow our own trees.
Yes.
And, that's kind of hard, right? Because I'm always talking to Propiama, like, but we want it to be accessible. I'm always the accessible conversation person, right? And and Obiama's like, no, but we need to make them, hold them accountable as well. So, I get it, and I totally get it. And you're right. We need to definitely find systems, or create systems that are supporting our own work. That's number one, and find new allies.
Well, oh, yes.
Find new allies, right? Because they are something I have learned in the last 2 weeks, right? And I've always known, but I forgot. And I was just easily reminded, you're stuck. Why are you sitting in this circle? If they don't want to play with you in the sandbox, go to the slides.
Exactly.
Right? So then go to the swings, right? Or get out the park altogether. And that's where I'm
Come
at. That's
on.
my mindset. That's my mindset right now. They don't want to play with me, deuces. Because at the end of the day, my heart is clean. I know my intentions are pure, and I know God is going to lead the way.
Yes.
Point blank, point blank. And that's just how I feel right now. So I'm very happy to open up new friends, new friendships, right? New
Yeah.
partners, new people, talk to new allies,
Yes.
right? Because every time I speak to someone that's not within our box, I want to say, of childcare, they're like, let's have a conversation more about this.
Mhm.
This is pretty interesting, and how can we help you?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because they're not the people that are being paid to help us. They're not the people receiving the funding. So it's been a learning curve for me. I don't know how to play fair. I don't know how to stay quiet in meetings. And I'm sorry if I've offended anybody, but I'm going to be real. I'm going to be true to the work I do and to myself at all costs.
Yes. Yes. And I think a part of the setup, though, I'll speak for me. Coming into the industry, you kind of were introduced to different organizations, and it was kind of like a box. And I think a lot of times we don't go outside of the box because, like we advocate even to the same people instead of, like you said, creating new allies, or like how much more powerful would we be if we, kind of got our story together. We identified the numbers. This is what we need. And we're very clear and loud about this is what we need. But we go outside, we go to the corporations that our families work for, or right in our community. What about if we go to the Walmarts and create allies in these other spaces instead of the same ones that have limited dollars anyway?
Right.
Like
Right.
we don't have to stay here. But I feel like it was a sense of conditioning, because it was like, go to Harrisburg and go ask the same people we've been asking for money. Which,
And then these legislators are looking at us like, again, we love you.
yes,
We signed those paperwork 5 times already. We love you. So we're not the people you need to come and see. And once I heard that, that's when I knew, there's something bigger than this.
Mm-hmm.
So where I need to go, just point me to the direction, and that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Right? You need me to go to Washington? Give me a ticket, I'm going. Right? Give me an entry ticket and I'm going. And sometimes that also means, Aaliyah, being the only one in that space that represent either early childhood education, because I've been in many spaces that I had to kind of unmute and say, no, that doesn't work for us. Exactly. And who are you? Early childhood. What do you do again? Like, we're the workforce behind the workforce. That's what we do. Yep. Right? So without us, you guys can't go to work.
Yes.
Right?
Period.
So let's talk about this, right? Because it starts here. It starts here, right? It doesn't start at K-12. It starts here, right? We are even the teacher pipeline, because many of our teachers have been certified, gone through us, through ECE, through early childcare, got certifications, and now they're teaching K-12. Yes. So don't sit here and act like you don't know I'm in the room, because I'm going to make sure you know I'm in the room.
Yes. Yep.
Right? So, being able to be comfortable enough to be in those spaces and lift your voice.
Yes. Yeah, and I've had to learn how to have conversations with the non-child care people. It was and not feel less than. It was like, oh no, I'm in the room. Let me tell you about our revenue. We have revenue as well. Let me tell you about what we do. Right. But it took getting uncomfortable, and we all were in the 10,000 small businesses Goldman Sachs program. It really helped me. It helped me. It was like, wait, what you mean a pitch? I had to do a 30-second pitch.
How do you do that? Oh my gosh, I struggled with that.
Oh my gosh. But
now I became an expert.
It set me up. Let me tell you about what I do. And even when we were on our way to DC to the summit, on the bus, we had so many conversations, and they were the ones telling me how important our work is. Like, oh my goodness, let's talk about, right? They want to talk about their children or their experiences that they had with childcare and things. That's why we need to have these conversations with the non-childcare people, because they feel it, they're impacted, even if they are employers and they have employees who, if childcare isn't available, then what? Right. When COVID hit and we had to close classrooms, I know my families were freaking out, right? They needed us, but we're not really having the conversations outside of the circle to create the allies, like you said, to ask for the money, know what we're asking, which is why, we've been talking about like knowing our numbers and getting into our businesses. Those are those business mindset strategies we need to really get tight on to say, and I don't want to just break even. Like, why we don't talk about profits? Like, why? Like, how come I can't have a profit and live how I want to live? Like, right?
That's
I'm
right.
Like, Mom, my mom still wants to, she does not want to retire. She's very clear. No problem, Mom. But you should be able to pick and choose. You should be able to be free and live how you want to, because you deserve it. You deserve it.
You put your time in. If you put your time, other people do it. So why can't we? You know why we can't? Because early child care, you obviously know. And it's because we're advocating to the same box within the same box. Okay. We need to come out strong. But here's a question I have for you, Aaliyah, because it's pretty interesting that you said that. So how do people get invited? Why do people do not come out to do these things, right? Is it because they feel like as though they're not invited to the table to have these conversations, right? Or they don't know where to go to?
They may not know where to go. But then so we just have to get uncomfortable and go outside of the ECE trainings, the conferences. We can't be scared to spend our money to be coached by, like, honestly, until I began getting coached and having consultants and things like that, it was a lot that I didn't know. And I was like, oh, there's somewhere. And I think COVID too opened up this virtual opportunity where we can connect with other people who are not from this country. Right. Like, they don't have to be from Philadelphia for us to become more knowledgeable or to have impact or to have connections that we can bring back to Philadelphia. But I still want to go. I want to go play in Africa. I do. I want to connect with them. I want to connect. I'm going to Italy. I'm going there. And I want to be able to not only have these experiences, but to have these conversations with other people. And make connections
and bring back those models, right?
Yes.
Guess what? When we start researching some models that are happening in other cities, in other countries, you're like, wow, wow, why are we not doing that in Philadelphia, right? Why are we not bringing this to our children? And, so definitely it's a great opportunity to think about out the box, right? Definitely think out the box and see how other places. I mean, I think Obiam is traveling now because she's always traveling. Obiam is definitely the biggest traveler here.
And I love when you got on the call, Obiam, and you said I have my sidekick, my baby with me. That's the creating the legacy too. He's with you.
Yes. And you. Go ahead.
No, I'm about
no. You can hear me.
I will say, yes, we can now. I was about to say, and it reminds me of me speaking about Zion and him being able to watch what you're doing. one of my girls said to me, and that's when it really checked me, because she was like, "Don't nobody want to work like y'all? Like y'all work all these hours and all these years, and you tired and right?" It's because that's what they saw. And I think what you're showing him is something different, so that, the legacy is this is what it can look like. And sometimes our children, they watch us, and like I'm still working. I am still working right now, but they watch us. And even my kids at times make comments that make me say, okay, what am I showing them? That's part of the legacy as well, in regards to what our children see, not just what, we call ourselves exposing them to. What are they actually seeing that, they see it for what it is, honestly. It's like, no, I'm working hard because, but they like, no, you're always tired. You can't go on the walk.
And you don't have time, right? And you don't have time to do this. This is how I connect with those little rugrats of mine. Because I love my children, but sometimes they're like, you're always working. Can you just quit? And I'm like, okay, so let's see. Let's write down, if I quit, what ends up happening.
Please tell me.
No more vacationing, or less vacationing, right? And here goes this. No more, competition dances, no more this. And they're like, and these are the things. I can be home all day. You can have, 3 meals per day. I can't promise that because, I don't know if I'm going to be tired enough to do it. Enough energy. And then they be looking at me like, go back to work. Like, you need to go back to work because, we love this lifestyle. Exactly. So sometimes I got to connect that to back to them and say, I love you. I'm here for you. I am splitting my time. I'm doing the best I can as women, but I also keep it real. As women, this world was not intended for us to be successful, right? Own businesses and be parents at the same time. Right? To do the parenting at the same time, right? So you're not going to see me as a soccer mom all the time. But I'm not a soccer mom, but I'm just giving you that I hate.
I got you. I just don't want to.
Yeah, and I don't want to either. I don't want to stand there for 5 hours going, hey, hurrah, and throwing all the kids inside my van. And then,
I do not want to do that. Yeah.
Graham crackers and orange juice. That's what my van smells like now. I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I love you. And you have to accept me for the parent that who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Just like I'm going to accept you for the child and the daughter that you are to me. Right? Yeah. You got to respect that. When there has to be some mutual term. That's how I speak to my children all the time. I'm like, you're not going to love everything I do. You're not. Right? And it's okay. But stay in your lane and I'm going to stay in mine. We're going to love each other and life is going to be great. Really, keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. You can't be a mother 100%. There's no balance, guys.
Oh, no.
There's none. No. There's none. You can't be a mother 100%. You can't be a wife 100% and a business owner. Not in this field.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not in any field. Not in any field. Not in any field. And so I think this is a good place to kind of like put a bow on this conversation, because the reality is we are the legacy, and the legacy is going to be what we say and what we create by our own definition and nobody else's, period.
That's it. That's it. So we invite you, our listeners, to think about your legacy. How will you create your legacy, right? I know my legacy, I have an exit plan. Right. I have an exit plan. I have somebody who's going to fulfill my legacy. I also have backup plans just in case that someone decides I don't want this. Right. So I have backup plans. Right. You always have to have plan A, plan B, plan C. So how are you going to fulfill your legacy? Because I'm ready to retire, guys. I'll be 50 next year.
I went past my mark. I said 40. I went past my mark. I'm working on it.
Well, I ain't going past my mark. My mark is 50. I got 6 years to go, and I literally have everything in place to ensure that that's going to happen. But even with that, though, like, so for me, retiring isn't the traditional retirement. It just, my definition of retirement is so that I don't have to work to pay bills. Mm-hmm. I work because I want to, but I live off of the interest. That's what retirement looks like for me. Right. Me living off of the interest. of
Yep.
all of my investments and getting up and traveling and doing whatever I want. And then recently, the other thing is, and I know you both are probably already doing this, but like just recently, I just feel a really great desire to be able to take care of my mom.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want her to have to do nothing.
That's
I
it.
want her to be free to travel and roam with me around the country.
I take her wherever I go. I'll be like,
My
everywhere.
mom doesn't. My mom doesn't like traveling, so
Yeah.
she's not good. But definitely taking care of her, in other ways, definitely is a high need because, when I lost my dad, I was a daddy's girl. I didn't have the opportunity, right? He always took care of me, So having the opportunity to do that with my mom, which I just not just, but we just as adults started having this relationship as mother and daughter bond. I didn't have the opportunity to have that relationship when we were younger. So I do agree with you, Obiama, that I would love the opportunity now to do that and also to bond with my daughters, especially now that they're older as well, right? Because it's different, right? I'm 50 and even bond with my husband in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I had to tell my husband, I said, I'm going to be 50 years old. I'm not a kid. I'm not the same
Yeah.
married 20 something years ago, right?
Yeah.
We need to learn how to, or we need to find each other again, right?
Yes.
And rekindle again at this age with this knowledge, with this wisdom, with this experience, right? And have the opportunity to be able to do that again. So, yes, it's
And you
Yeah,
powerful.
just
that's another podcast. That's another
Yeah,
show.
that's a whole
Stay
different.
tuned. Stay tuned.
so if anything, to wrap that up, I think really what we're saying, because the part of the issue too is we all had our story about how we got into this work, but I don't think any of us came into it with a plan, an exit strategy, or to say this is where I want my life to be at this space. But you can now. You can now. You can
Yes.
say this is what I want my life to look like, and start planning your exit strategy, whatever that may be. So we could call it legacy, your exit strategy. Make up your word, succession planning, create it, right? And that's that part of dreaming, is that you can have what you want to have, and we don't have to stay stuck to what early childhood education or childcare defined for us. We no longer have to be in the box. Guys, we're outside of the box. You can be friends
We're in
with
the
us.
ocean. We're in the ocean. We out
We're
of the fish tank. We're in the ocean.
So thank you so much for joining us. I hope this triggers something within you. I know it did me. Sometimes those questions, when we sit with them, they can really change the trajectory of our lives. So join us on the next podcast. We will be here the third Thursday. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.